Hey Dad, hey Greg, hey y'all. Well, welcome back to Wrench It Wheel It. Well, another day out in the shop. We'll see what all we can get done today. I'm gonna try and test fit the rocker panel. And I learned from Chris, a viewer, that all that work that I did last week, that was pretty much part of the quarter panel that I should have. So you would think that after 15 years that I had opened it up and looked at the quarter panel, but I haven't. So today we're gonna do a 15-year-old unboxing. That should be exciting. I know it's gonna be exciting for me, so that way I'll figure out exactly what I've got. I should have done that earlier. I've seen, parts in here like this right here, the shock tower. It's part of the trunk pan, and I was looking all over the internet for it, and then I came out here and I looked at the trunk pan, and sure enough, it's part of the trunk pan. So you would think that I would have looked at the quarter panel to see what all was part of that before I tore into all this other stuff, but I didn't. I didn't learn that lesson. So hopefully I've learned that lesson for the next time that I find something that I'm not sure about. And I did that with the floor pan too, and that's why I put all those picture holes in the floor pan box a few weeks ago. So we will do an unboxing. I will go ahead and get the quarter panel down, which is, where is it? It's right there. So I'll go ahead and get that down, and we'll take a look at it and see what all we've got in there. So appreciate everybody coming back, appreciate everybody watching, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I've gotten the quarter panel down, the one that I have. This is an 80%. This is not a full quarter panel. So it doesn't include the door jamb. But I am glad he said that, because it is making me reconsider what I'm gonna do with this car. I still have enough time to consider it, look it up, study it, and see what I wanna do, because I really would like to be able to get into the jam area and make sure that everything has the POR 15 on it, which a viewer did suggest that I use the POR 15. I saw some in the store the other day, so I picked up the little kit that they have for it. So probably gonna end up doing that, but it makes me consider what exactly I want to do with this and how I wanna do it. So let's go ahead and take a look at what I've got. So here's what I bought. This is an 80%. So the door jamb, it makes that turn and goes into the actual door opening. But it's just on that first flat turn there. So this doesn't go as far as what was suggested. So I am really considering getting another one. I'll have to look it up and research it and see exactly what all it includes in that. But when I bought this one, they did not make a convertible quarter panel. So everything was a full quarter panel for a coupe, and they said that it would work on a convertible, but you had to do body work. So I'm sure that was cutting that sail panel off and doing some bending and stuff like that. And I had not really, well, I'm just barely getting into the body work now, but at that point I had didn't even have a hammer and dolly set or anything like that. So that scared me. So I bought this thinking that everything was probably good in the door jamb area, which most everything is good in the door jamb area. It's just down there at the bottom where I patched. Now, will my patch be fine? I think it will. I think everything that I put in there, it will work perfectly fine. It's a good patch. But the part that concerns me is not being able to get up in there and make sure that everything is rust proof, or as much as I can get it rust proof. Because I understand that once I start welding on things, all that primer and everything is going to burn off of there. Any paint or anything else will burn off of there, and that's going to leave that metal open for, you know, starting to corrode. But as long as I have this car, it's not going to be out on rainy days, and, you know, unless it's a pop-up shower or whatever, but it's not going to be daily driven all the time. It's not going to be sitting in, you know, the humid air outside, no salt, no, you know, stuff like that during the winter. So I'm not terribly concerned about that, but I do want to do everything I can do to make this the best that I can make it. So I'll research that, just see what I want to do, see what the prices are, and consider, you know, what I want to do. I may end up putting this on Marketplace and just trying to get rid of it. I don't think it was terribly expensive when I bought it, so it's, you know, I'm not going to get a lot of money out of it now. Even though it is 15 years old, reproductions don't age well. So it is what it is. But you know, if it's easier, if I think it's going to be easier to do a, you know, a full quarter on this thing, it's, you know, I may just go ahead and do that, and in that way I've got all new metal on the quarter panels, and it'll go all the way up. I think the full quarter will include the trunk channel, and it'll go all the way over to where the back panel is that go, you know, that the top attaches to, and the trunk lid and all that stuff. So that would be all new metal there. I know I'm going to have the inner and the outer wheel wells, and, you know, the trunk pan. So by the time I get done with this, there's not going to be a whole lot of metal left on it from 1967, but it'll be good. So let's go ahead and get started and see if we can't get that rocker panel fit in there. Okay, so I've got this thing fit up. I think I'm pretty close. If you look right here, there's a notch, and the notch is showing through this back existing piece, and they're flush. They're pretty close to flush. So you go over here to the existing one, and same notch, and everything is pretty well the same way, flush. So I feel like I'm in a pretty good place with that. I don't have this all together, but it will go together. So I feel like I'm good front to back, and up and down I feel like I'm pretty good. I think this is a little bit taller than the original, because I had a little bit of problem getting it through the firewall, and it tore it a little bit, but I'm not just terribly worried about that. I can weld that back, knock it back down, weld it together. But I feel like everything is pretty much where it should be. So I didn't realize that this, whenever I was doing some work, that this was bent over to follow that right there. So I straightened that out. Almost looks factory, but it shouldn't have been. But anyway, I've got to do that. I had to cut out this piece right here to get the rocker panel in. It was not going to go in there with this piece in there at all. There was no way to get that in because I couldn't get all of this metal here up past it because there's an offset, and this piece stuck over so far that it wouldn't have allowed for all that to go in there. So I cut this out, and I'll just be able to weld that back together. And I'll do that whenever I go and weld in my patch over here. So I can weld all that at one time. I went ahead and chased all my threads in that. I've got a little cleanup to do on this right here. That was up in there and I couldn't get to it, so now that I've got it out, I can get to all that and straighten that stuff up. But up in here, I'm gonna have to fix this. I can tell that some of this stuff is just a different size. It's not, the old one came down right here. This one sticks over a little further. You know, it's a reproduction part, so it's gonna fit a little different. This gap here isn't as tight as it was on the original. And like I said, I've got 6 inches to here. So I'll have to knock this down, get everything put together there. But my measurement here is good, so this area should be good. Everything looks pretty good. I get back here and I don't have 6 inches here. I've got 6 1/8, 6 3/16, a little bit better than 1/8. So I've got to figure out what all's going on with this. It needs to go up just a hair, and I feel like it needs to go in a little bit to better match up with this area right here, because the original, this was over that way. But with this being wider up front, I believe it's wider back here as well. So I don't have a whole lot of room here, and back in there I've got a little bit of room, so I might be able just to knock these braces over a little bit, gain myself a little bit of room, just enough to take up the little bit that it is wider here. So I think I'll be able to live with that. It looks pretty good here. This is pretty much the way the old one lined up, and like I said, I think it's pretty close. So I'm really close back in here, in this area. I'm not really sure about, if you look back there, there's a little gap there. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is massage this right here, either cut it and push it up a little bit so that it has that room to push up in there, and you know, I've got a gap here, but I think I can get all that once I get this area back here fixed back up. I think I can get that pretty close. This brace is actually pretty close to where it was welded, or you know, the original was. So I feel like that's pretty close. It just needs to go up a little bit. Maybe just, you know, whenever it goes in, it'll push that back a little bit, and that area will fix the rest of it. So a little bit of work to do here. It's going pretty well, I feel like. It's just that this is a tedious piece, because if I get this wrong, there's a lot of other things that hinge off of this. So I'm gonna continue working on it and make sure that that this is actually got my measurement here. And I think once I get that, everything else looks really close. The way that the back and everything lines up. So pretty confident with all that. I just need to get this back in to raise up, and I should be in pretty good shape. But I feel like that, or I think to do that, I got to pull this thing out. And I'm here to tell you, putting this thing in was a struggle. I battled this thing for about 2 hours. The time-lapse video is about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, something like that. So it's been a struggle to get it in, but I will drop this thing back out and continue to work on it. And you know, that gap right there doesn't bother me too bad. I think, like I said, reproduction parts don't always fit like the originals. So, but I feel like it's pretty good. It's just a little bit wider. So I will get that done, and we'll see what we can get done. Well, I think I got it fit better now. That looks a lot better. The jam came together a lot better. This little piece right here, this inner fender, was a little bit long. I guess the original rocker panel was a little shorter here or something, but it was this was holding it. So, but this looks pretty good, I think. And then all of this is coming up better. There's a bracket in there that little, there it is. That little bracket right there was the original bracket. And I didn't mess with it. And it's pretty close to right down there on the rocker panel. So I think it's right where it needs to be, pretty well in place. So that down there is pretty close. I haven't done much with that since I put it back in, but I think it's close. I know I got a little work to do down there, but I think that looks a lot better than it did. And then this can go right up in there. So, all right. Well, guys, that's going to do it for this video. That was a lot of work. That was like a wrestling match trying to get that thing in there. And it was a lot more work than I had hoped it was going to be, but I kind of expected it was going to be a pretty big task to get that in. I didn't really want to have to cut that extra piece out, but you got to do what you got to do. And I knew there wasn't any way to get it in there without cutting that piece out. So we can get it welded back in there and it'll be just fine. But I appreciate everybody watching. If you're enjoying the videos, hit that like, hit that subscribe button down below, share the videos. I do appreciate everybody watching. It's been a good motivator and really helped me push to get out here and get some things done. So I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. I appreciate everybody, and y'all have a good week. Thanks, everybody.